we have very restrictive policy. You think about the type of information that people in Congress, the Senate or the House have, not just about pending legislation, but about national security, about all kinds of things that are not widely disseminated, that they're able to. And then you think about the Fed. I mean, the Fed itself thinks that the entire economy is dependent on what they do. Well, if they believe that, they certainly shouldn't be able to treat individual issues or even, I don't know how you figure that out, because they could have more influence than anyone. So I don't know how you do it other than with almost a blanket ban, Jay.
Well, let me make a point on the blanket ban and pushing everybody into index funds. Let's not think that is necessarily a panacea here, because index funds, and you report on this all the time. 20% of an index fund is 10 names. You're not going to eliminate that. And look, we do not want people to be forced completely out of the market. Okay, if you're going to be in government for 6, 8, 9, 10 years, and you're not able to invest in the market on a broad-based way, I think that's also a loss. I think you want your elected officials to be riding along with the American people and the American economy. So we have to find a way forward, recognizing that there's no panacea. But what Chair Powell laid out yesterday was very sensible. Ride along, but don't short-term trade. Have a broad-based, have a managed account, etc.
Jay, here's the thing I don't understand. Clearly, Congress is unwilling to regulate itself. That has been the lesson for as long as I can remember. The only agency, and I wrote about this last year, so you know about it, the only agency that I believe actually has the authority to regulate this without Congress, if you will, though it maybe would go to court, would actually be for the SEC to try to put some policies in place on the assumption that you could argue that your job, meaning whoever's in that job, Gary Gensler today, is there to oversee the credibility of the markets, and anything that undermines the credibility of the markets, including politicians buying and selling stock before public information is available, undermines the value and credibility of the market. Obviously, who's ever in that seat doesn't want to do it because their budget is approved every year by Congress. And so how do you ever get to a place where you can, quote unquote, self-regulate people who don't want to be regulated?
Well, look, I think, Andrew, there's all sorts of separation of powers issues and the like there as to whether the SEC could actually impose rules on Congress. I mean, of course, the SEC enforces the securities laws. And if there is insider trading, and in fact, the SEC has brought cases, and during my tenure, we brought a case against a sitting member of Congress. That does happen. What have we seen here? We've seen pressure from the Hill on other agencies to adopt more rigorous rules. I would like to see the Hill with a little bit of self-reflection here. If they're pushing for those rules and it's part of their oversight, they should modernize their rules.
Do you think, in retrospect, either when you were in this position just a year and a half ago, or now that Gary Gensler's in this position, that somebody at the SEC should be making active proposals to maybe not regulate what is being bought and sold, but potentially you could create a whole disclosure scheme under the agency,
the SEC,
umbrella of the SEC. That would not be impossible. Now, it could get objected to, but it would at least change the conversation in a real way.
Well, I'd love to see it on a cooperative basis, Andrew. The SEC provides to members of Congress, House and Senate side, what we call technical analysis or technical assistance. The SEC could be part of the mix here as to designing the kind of program that we just talked about, one that draws on experience with executives, brokerage houses, the SEC's own rigorous ethics rules, and deals with some of these issues in a proactive way. I would encourage members of Congress who are pushing bills forward to consult with the SEC staff on these things. What has worked,
but Jay, let's be honest, how disappointed we had Gary Gensler on this show just earlier this week. Didn't want to talk about it. Didn't want to deal with it. And I
Look,
will say
I have no doubt. I have no doubt that if a member of the House or the member of the Senate reaches out to the SEC and says, I want technical assistance, turn it around quickly, tell me what's worked, what hasn't worked, that the SEC staff will provide that. Sure.
The question, though, is should he be using his bully pulpit, if you will? You're, by the way, now that you're not in the seat, it appears you're willing to say, yes, there should be stronger policies in place. It's fascinating to me that Gary Gensler is unwilling to even say that.
Well, I'm in a much freer position now, Andrew. I'm a citizen. It's my view. Again, the relationship between Congress and the SEC. But look, I think that there's a general consensus that the rules on the Hill need to be modernized.
Shepard Smith here. Thanks for watching CNBC on YouTube.